So as I discussed, it's the most vital part of most industrial operation is temperature measurement and is typically accomplished by a temperature sensor. Now, once you are choosing a temperature sensor, many factors are to be kept in your mind, such as what is the temperature range of measurement, how accurate should be the device, what should be the response time, and the stability of the device, linearity, and sensitivity. So there are basically four instruments with which you can measure a temperature in the industry. First is mechanical devices, which will have liquid and glass thermometers, bimetallic strips, bulb and capillary pressure type, etc. Second is thermojunctive, in which we have thermocouples. Third is thermoresistive, where we have RTDs and thermistors. And the fourth one, which we will be discussing today, is radiative, which is infrared and optical pyrometers. Each of these is defined in this segment, and we will discuss each in details. So the first device which is used in temperature measurement we will discuss is mechanical device. The principle of operation is quite simple. Like if you heat any material, be it solid, liquid or gas, with the increase in temperature it expands in its volume. So this same principle is used in mechanical devices. So for example, the first one we have is your liquid in glass thermometer, where you can see that there is a bulb, and as the temperature rises, the liquid inside this thermometer expands and it moves up the tube. So the scale is calibrated to read the temperature directly. Usually mercury or some kind of alcohol is used for this liquid, and once the temperature increases, this thing expands and you can see the temperature in the markers. The second kind of mechanical device which we use for temperature measurement is bimetallic strip thermometer. Here two dissimilar metals are bonded together, and it is called a bimetallic strip. Since these two materials have different temperature coefficient of expansion, so once the temperature increases, they expands with their own temperature coefficients, and with the level of expansion you can measure you can calibrate this level of expansion with the measurement device, and you can see the number of, and you can see how much it has expanded because of the temperature, calibrated in terms of numbers. So this is how the liquid in glass thermometer and bimetallic strip thermometer works. One common application of bimetallic strip is in the air conditioned thermostats. So as you can see in the picture, where a bimetallic strip here is used, and as the arm of a switch between the electrical contacts. So this is the electrical contacts. As the room temperature changes or increases, the bimetallic strip bends toward this side, and as discussed above, the bimetallic strip bends far enough and it makes a contact with the electrical leads here, which turn the heat or air conditioning on or off. So once the temperature increases, it touches it and it sets the air condition on, and when it cools enough, the contact is break and the air condition again stops. So this is how bimetallic strip works. The third kind of mechanical devices which we use is a sealed bellow, as you can see in this picture. So in the sealed bellow type, it is filled generally with a gas, vapor or liquid inside the bellow, which responds to the change in temperature by variation in the volume and pressure, causing expansion or contraction. So if the temperature increases, this bellow increases and it makes a contact with this metal lead, and which leads to the change in operation of the equipment with which it is connected. Now let's discuss one of the most commonly used temperature measurement device in industries, which is thermocouple. So thermocouple is made up of two dissimilar metals joined together at one end that produce a voltage expressed in millivolts with a change in temperature. So once the temperature increases, the voltage increases, and when it comes down, the voltage decreases. The junction of the two metals are called the sensing junctions and is connected to the extension wire. Any two dissimilar metal may be used to make a thermocouple. Now let's understand what is the principle of operation. So the principal operation says that whenever there are two dissimilar metals which are connected together, a small voltage called a thermojunction voltage is generated at that junction. So if this is metal A and this is metal B, so whenever you connect it, there will be a voltage which will generate here. and this is called Peltier effect. Now there is one more effect where it says that if the temperature of this junction changes, it causes voltage to change too, which can be measured by an input circuits of an electronic controller. The output is a voltage proportional to the temperature difference between the junction and the free ends, and this is called Thomson effect. Now if we mix both the effects, what it says is both of these effects can be combined to measure temperature by holding one junction at a known temperature, which is known as reference junction, and measuring the voltage. The temperature at the sensing junction can be deducted. So one end of this junction is known as reference junction, which is kept at a constant temperature. It can be that atmospheric temperature, or it can be 0 degrees centigrade, and the other side will be the sensing junction, where the temperature may increase or decrease. So the voltage, and it produces a difference in temperature produces a difference in voltage. The voltage generally is directly proportional to the temperature difference. The combined effect is known as thermojunction effect and is also known as Seebeck effect. So thermocouples are based on Seebeck effect. So now we understand on which principle the thermocouple works. Now let's see what is the principle of operation. So principle of operation is simple. When there is one metal A wire and one metal B wire, they are connected to a digital voltmeter here in parallel, which could be a digital voltmeter, it could be a digital multimeter, or it can be any other digital data acquisition system. Now the voltage is measured to infer the temperature at this sensing junction. However, there is a problem in when you are connecting digital voltmeter or multimeter at this point, because the wire A and B must be connected to the leads of the voltmeter, which are generally made of copper. And if neither wire A or wire B is itself copper, which is getting connected to the digital voltmeter, it creates two more thermojunction here, as you can see, additional junctions. So and typically the thermocouple materials are not the same as that of the digital voltmeter, which is generally copper. So these additional thermojunctions also produce a thermojuncting voltage, however small it can be, but it can produce an error when you are trying to measure the voltage from the sensing junction. So how can this problem be resolved? So one simple solution to solve this problem is to add a fourth thermojunction called a reference junction by inserting an additional length of metal A, like this one, wire into the circuit as sketched below. The reference junction consists of metal A and B as indicated on the sketch. So what happen is that your metal A here is again connected here. So whatever voltage which get produced here gets nullified by the voltage it get produced here. So end of the day, and this reference junction is kept at 0 degree. So whatever temperature you are actually getting at here is what you are actually getting that on the digital voltmeter. So it gets proportional. Now let's discuss how thermocouple materials are distinguished. So thermocouples may be constructed by several combinations of material. The performance of a thermocouple material is generally determined by using the material with platinum. The most important factor to be considered when selecting a pair of material is the thermoelectric difference between the two materials. A significant difference between the two materials will result in better thermocouple performance. Type K thermocouple is the most used thermocouple in industries, which is where one metal is chromel and other is alumel. It is usually work in most application as they are nickel based and exhibit good corrosion resistance. It is the most common sensor calibration type, providing the widest operating range. Due to its reliability and accuracy, the Type K thermocouple is used extensively in the temperature range up to 2300 degree Fahrenheit, which is 1260 degree centigrade. In the next slide, we will see what are the various temperature ranges of all kind of thermocouple. However, the K-type thermocouple should be protected with a suitable metal or ceramic protection tube, especially in reducing atmosphere. So typically on the body of thermocouple you have one more a well kind of system which is called thermo well, which is used to protect the thermocouple from external adversities like oxidization or any corrosive material or fluid. So in oxidizing atmosphere such as electric furnace, tube protection is not always necessary when other conditions are suitable. However, it is recommended for cleanliness and general mechanical protection. So you can see the image of a thermo well here. So type K thermocouple will generally outlast type J because the JP wire rapidly oxidizes, especially at higher temperature. The temperature range of thermocouple is between minus 454 degree Fahrenheit to 2300 degree Fahrenheit, which is minus 270 degree centigrade to 1260 degree centigrade. So you can see there is a wide range of temperature close to 1500 degree in which thermocouple can be used, and uh, you can have one extension grade wire which gives additional advantage to this thermocouple and increases the range by another 200 degrees centigrade. Typically the melting point of K-type thermocouple is 1400 degrees centigrade. That means if the temperature goes beyond this temperature, then the K-type thermocouple is not suitable and it generally melts. So in this slide we see what are the various types of thermocouple. As you can see, the types of B, E, J, K, N, R, S and T, out of which K is the most maximum usage in the industries. You can see the various combination of material in these various types of thermocouples and the temperature ranges, which is of prime importance. So you can see that the B type is generally used between the temperature of 1300 to 1700. However, as I said in the last slide, K is generally used between 0 to 1260 degrees centigrade, and at 1400 it melts. So if there is a process parameter in the industry where the temperature is typically 1600 degrees centigrade, then you understand that you have to choose B type of the thermocouple. Similarly, R, S and T, you can see the temperature ranges on this side. So as we can see, the T type is between the negative temperature zone minus 59 to plus 370, has a range of around 400 degrees centigrade, and is the lowest temperature range available. Similarly, you can see that E and J type can also be used between 0 to 1000 degree centigrade. Now, choosing a thermocouple uh, generally are decided based on the following factors in industry. One is the temperature range in which your process works. Second is the chemical resistance of the thermocouple or the sheath material used in the industry. Then abrasion and vibration resistance of the thermocouple and installation requirement. So you may need to be compatible with the existing equipment. Existing holes may determine the probe diameter, and each thermocouple diameter size will be different from each other. So all these factors actually helps you decide what kind of thermocouple you have to use in the industry. So now we go into the third type of temperature measurement devices in our list, which is resistive, thermoresistive temperature measuring devices. Simple, the function is that we have seen in few metals where with an increase or decrease in temperature, it causes the electrical resistance of some materials to change. And this resistance change is measured to infer the temperature change. So the two devices which we discussed today is RTD, resistance temperature detector, and thermistor. So under RTD, resistance temperature detector or RTD is basically either a long, small diameter metal wire wound in a coil or an etched grid on a substance like this, much like a strain gauge. Platinum is the most common metal used for the RTDs. Principle of operation. RTD operates on the principle that the electrical resistance of a metal changes predictably in an essentially linear and repeatable manner with the change in temperature. So if the temperature is this side and your resistance is this, then we see the metals which show a characteristic like this are generally used in making the resistance temperature detector or RTD. So typically platinum is one of the material which has very good linearity and repeatability. What it means is with number of cycles of temperature going up and down, platinum has shown remarkably good linearity and repeatability within within the period of operations. A typical electrical circuit designed to measure temperature with RTD usually measures a change in resistance of the RTD, which is then used to calculate a change in temperature. The resistance of an RTD increases with increasing temperature, just as the resistance of a strain gauge increases with increasing strain. Now, RTD materials and construction. The metals which are best suited for making the best suited for use of RTD sensors are pure metals or certain alloys of uniform quality that increase in resistance as temperature increases, and conversely decrease in resistance as temperature decreases. Only few metals have this kind of property necessary to use in RTD elements. Common material which are used in RTD sensors are Balco wire, copper and platinum. These metals are best suited for RTD application because of their linear resistance temperature characteristic, as I explained in the last slide, their high coefficient of resistance and their ability to withstand repeated temperature cycles. The coefficient of resistance is the change in resistance per degree change in temperature. So which is dR by dt, usually expressed as a percentage per degree of temperature. The material used must be capable of being drawn into fine wires so that the element can be easily constructed. So typically RTDs are material in a power plant or in other industries, generally used in areas where you have to actually so if this is a casing of a turbine, RTDs are material which are generally uh, grooved inside these grooving of the or the sheath of the turbine casing or pump casing, or you go for any oil and gas industry, if there are any CEPs like any pumps or bearings, these RTDs are generally used because they can be inserted and they can be wired into those closed areas where thermocouples cannot be used. So thermocouples are generally long and sturdy equipments which generally are used as a probe inside boiler or other areas. However, when you are sensing the temperature of bearing or any casing, you generally used RTDs in those areas. Now, copper and nickel versions are majorly used in industries because platinum is very costly material. It's very expensive, and sometimes it's not viable. So platinum is very versatile. On the other hand, it has a temperature range of -200 to 850 degrees centigrade, so it covers almost 1000 degrees centigrade range. It has excellent repeatability, stability and resistance to chemicals and corrosion. RTD elements are usually long, spring-like wires surrounded by an insulator and enclosed in a sheath of metal. You can see this figure. So this is the inconel sheath, and these are the porcelain insulators this side. Then you have these platinum wires, and there is a base which is filled with alumina powder. This is how an internal construction, if you open this, you will see like this inside the typical RTD. Now we go into the second kind of thermoresistive temperature measuring devices, which is a thermistor. Now, unlike RTD, which shows a linear and repeatable nature, thermistors are temperature sensitive semiconductors that exhibit a large change in resistance over a relatively small range of temperature change. So there are two main types of thermistors. One is positive temperature coefficient, where the resistance increase with increase in temperature, and there is a negative temperature coefficient where the resistance decreases with increase in temperature. So NTC thermistor exhibits the characteristics of resistance falling with increasing temperature. These are most commonly used for temperature measurements. A thermistor is similar to an RTD, but a semiconductor material is used instead of a metal. A thermistor is a solid state device and has larger sensitivity than does an RTD. Unlike RTDs, the temperature resistance characteristic of a thermistor is non-linear and cannot be characterized by a single coefficient. So it's not a straight line unlike RTD, it is like that. Furthermore, unlike RTDs, the resistance of a thermistor decrease with increasing temperature. Thermistors cannot be used to measure high temperature compared to RTDs. In fact, the maximum temperature of operation is sometimes only 100 or 200 degrees. So now we go into the final kind of temperature measurement device, which is radiative temperature measurement devices. So there are certain process parameters where there is melting steel or something where you cannot insert any RTD thermocouple or thermistor or any other measurement devices, because they will melt. So in that case you need a radiative kind of temperature measurement devices where you don't have a direct contact with the process fluid or process metal. So here we use two kinds of radiative measurement devices. One is infrared pyrometer, another is optical pyrometer. So infrared temperature sensors is also known as pyrometers or non-contact temperature sensors and are used to measure the temperature of an object without contact. This is different from most temperature measurement devices which require direct contact with the measured media. Non-contact methods of temperature measurements are advantageous when contact methods are impossible or impractical, such as when the target is inaccessible or so hot that contact device will not survive. What's the principle of operation? So principle of operation, infrared temperature sensors use the principle that any object emits an amount of energy that is a function of its temperature. This function dictates that as the temperature of an object rises, so does the amount of energy it emits. An infrared temperature sensor determines temperature by measuring the intensity of energy given off by an object. Now optical pyrometers. So that was for infrared pyrometer. Under optical pyrometer, it is used for measuring very high temperatures and even flames. The optical pyrometer used an infrared radiation sensitive sensors, for example photodiode or photoresistor, to compare the radiation from the unknown with that of the radiation from an internal incandescent source. The accuracy of the optical pyrometer is very much a function of the emissivity of the device that is radiating the heat. The obvious advantage in using an optical pyrometer at very high temperature is that the measurement is non-contacting. So these pyrometers are basically working under the principle that every body emits radiations, and these devices are capable enough to measure the radiation coming out of these hot bodies, and they correlate this intensity of emission with in corresponding to a temperature which gets displayed on the screen, and you get to know the temperature. So you can also use these radiative temperature measurement against RTDs and thermocouples to do a cross check of whether your RTD thermocouples are working perfectly or not.